So I want to talk about something that's been on my mind these past couple months, specifically during the election and, as this new administration is hitting its first 100 days. Something I've noticed is that the two sides of the political spectrum, they've kind of flip-flopped on where they stand on certain things, and let me explain about that. In this new administration, I'm gonna go by new administration. I'm not gonna say Trump, because I know some militant lesbians out there sitting in their safe spaces will probably get triggered right off their transgender toilets there. So I'm just gonna say new administration. We're gonna refrain from saying Trump. We're not gonna say Trump. Basically, what I've noticed is they've been flip-flopping on certain issues and on what they support. So historically in the past, the Conservative Party does not like handouts. They don't like subsidies. They stay away from subsidies as much as possible when it comes down to healthcare and giving big bailouts and everything else. The Conservative administration, a big no-no on the subsidies, while the Liberal administration, the Liberal Party, they don't really mind as much. They want to give more handouts. They think it's going to prop up people who need help and everything. For quite some time now, those have been the two sides of the debate. Now, recently, I've noticed a change in that, especially when it comes to the war on coal. So basically, when it comes down to energy is what I'm going to be talking about here, along with subsidies. The Republican side, they want to bring back the coal industry. They want to bring back, fossil fuels. They think that cutting all these fossil fuel industries, it's hurting the economy. We're losing jobs. It's the war on coal. Whereas the liberal side, they're pushing green energy. Oh, I know, green energy. It's got that, it's certain, hippies and everything. But I know some of you out there just spit out your Keystone Light. But hang with me, put another lip of wintergreen in there and just sit back for a second. Let me explain. Basically, what's been going on is they want to revive these coal industries across the country. We're bringing back coal. We're going to give jobs back to coal industries, coal companies. And that's interesting because that, if you look at it in the long run from a economic point of view, that's going to need a lot of subsidies. It's going to require massive amounts of subsidies. And I know that doesn't make sense, but let me explain it, because, not many people understand this. Talk about the coal industry for a bit. The coal industry primarily focusing on the energy part, where they're creating energy through burning coal, creating steam, creating energy. In most places, specifically where I live, the energy companies are a monopoly. I assume that goes for a lot of people out there. You don't really have much of a choice. And in a monopoly, there are certain factors that need to be taken into account. Speaking of monopolies in just kind of a broad sense, there's discriminating monopolies where they can kind of set the price wherever they want. And that's, many people hear monopoly and they think, oh, they can just do whatever they want. That's not technically true. Not going to get into that right now. But in a discriminating monopoly, that's where you get the crazy price hikes depending on demand and everything. And they can really set, there's no competition, it's a closed market, much like the energy industry. So the energy industry, what you need to know about the energy industry is that they're not a discriminating market. They're a regulated monopoly. They're not a discriminated monopoly, they're a regulated monopoly. But for an industry to be a monopoly, to be profitable, just like any other industry or company or corporation, there needs to be a fair return on the original investment. If you're going out spending a ton of money and not getting any money back, what's the point of entering that industry? And that's where the coal industry comes in. There is no war on coal, and I'm not saying that people aren't being laid off and they're being shut down. There is no war on coal because it's not the liberal agenda that's shutting it down. It's the free market that's shutting it down. It's our capitalist society. What's happening is, if you're the person who's running one of these energy industries, one of these energy monopolies, and you're thinking, well, here I am, I can import thousands of tons of coal and we can mine out and pay for thousands of tons of coal and burn it to create energy. That's great. But other forms of energy are currently becoming cheaper and cheaper, like solar, wind, natural gas. There are many of them out there. It's not just renewable energies per se, but there are other energies out there that are becoming cheaper than coal. And that gets back to the point, why would you dive into a company? Why would you start a company or why would a company continue down that road if it's not making them profit? A fair return on their investment, what has to happen is they have to set their price at a certain place so they get a profit. They're making a profit. They're not just cutting even and they're not below the line. But what happens with a regulated monopoly is the government comes in and sets a price ceiling, and many times that's usually just breaking even, or it's under the line of what they need to accomplish. So this is where subsidies come into play, the handouts, where it's the hot topic on both political spectrums. Subsidies come in when they set that price ceiling. The government then has to go and subsidize them so they can make a profit, or they can get over that breaking even line, or else no one's going to work there. They're going to have to start laying off employees. They're not going to be making a lot of money, basically. No one's going to want to be in that industry. They're going to pull out of the area, and then bam, no one has electricity. That's no good. Can't have that. So the government subsidizes these regulated monopolies so as they can keep the price a fair, well, fair's relative, but they can keep the price at a payable amount for most citizens while making a profit. They subsidize them to get them past that line. So what's basically going to happen is, with this, ending the war on coal and reviving all these coal industries, when you bring these coal industries that have left or are struggling, when you're reviving them, when you're bringing all these coal industries back, what's going to happen is, with all this new technology coming out where we can produce energy cheaper and more efficiently without spending as much, is if you're forcing coal back into the system, it's going to be more expensive. Less people are going to be producing coal to give to the plants, to ship into the plants that are burning the coal, and all in all, your marginal cost is going to rise, your output is going to decrease, and your profits are going to decrease, which basically means the government subsidies are going to have to increase. So reviving the coal industries, ending the war on coal, is going to be a massive increase in subsidies coming from the government to these companies. Marginal cost keeps rising, the subsidies get larger, and then it's going to keep spiraling out of control. There's going to be job loss, there's going to be pay cuts, and then we're going to be back where we started after spending a lot of money, because we're in a free market, we're in a capitalist society. And I think it's interesting because where, you have the Republicans, they're usually anti-subsidies, but they're putting in these policies that will increase government subsidies by an astronomical amount. You've got the turbo liberals over here who are like, communism, and socialism will free our country from the binds of free market and the corruption and blah blah blah, when in reality the agenda the liberals are trying to push really is just a free market economy. And in my opinion, that's how it relates back to, I think that the two political parties are shifting sides on issues. You got the Tumblr tards saying that socialism's gonna be the new revolution and it's gonna free our country, when in reality pushing green energy is pushing free market. It's pushing capitalism. That's my 2 cents on the whole subject. I hope you found this enlightening. I'm sure I'm gonna get in the comments a bunch of people talking about how I'm wrong or offensive or how none of it makes sense or whatever, but I've got some advice. The people who scream on Facebook about how the war on coal is going to kill us, or how, we need to do green energy or we're all going to die, go, local bookstore, or even if you're in school right now, which most people bitching about this, they're college students, let's be real. Take an economics class, or don't even take the class, just go pick up, Economics 101, micro or macro, doesn't matter. Introduction to economics, really, really worth it. I think in my next video I'm going to talk about the difference between a mental disorder and a gender.